What's going on, YouTube? It's Tyler from Mission VR, where it's my mission to bring you guys good quality VR content. Multiplayer games are about to take over the virtual reality space. And no, I don't mean the ones that we already have. I'm talking about the next generation of multiplayer VR games, which we have not seen yet because we're just about to get there, to the technology, into the player base, into the age of multiplayer games, where we're going to start seeing some of the really high-end quality VR multiplayer experiences that are going to be coming to headsets near you in the coming years. And we're going to be talking about all of that in today's video. So guys, do make sure you drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. I just crossed 20,000 subscribers. We're closing in on 25,000. So every subscriber does help the channel and I appreciate it. Plus, you know, as I grow, I can continue to bring you guys the content, and hopefully I can get to a point where I can do this full time instead of part time. That's really a dream of mine and a passion of mine. So every subscriber does help there. And lastly, let's hear from today's video sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by the Yoges VR all-in-one Quest 3 charging dock. This bad boy not only looks aesthetically pleasing on the desk, but it does as advertised, which is charge your Quest 3 in a good-looking manner. But here's the neat feature to it. It also charges your controllers. Yes, charges, but wait a minute, I use batteries. Not with this. Giving you a rechargeable battery kit as well as new controller covers to go over it so that when you slide it onto the dock, it recharges the controllers. This is a really intuitive design, and I really like the way this thing looks overall. If you guys are interested in picking one of these up for yourselves, the link will be down in the link tree in the description. And remember, every sale does help the channel, so thank you. So for several years now, we have witnessed the birth of an entire industry when it comes to virtual reality gaming and the metaverse as a whole. Now, I got into VR back in 2016 when things were, well, let's just say that they were definitely really rough compared to today, but nevertheless still incredible to be actually inside of a video game. Now, I've been gaming since, I mean, Lord knows I was able to talk. My dad was a gamer way back when, and I was playing Medal of Honor on his 2001 computer when I was like 4 years old, right? I started gaming way back then, and I've played a litany of video games, everything from single player to multiplayer experiences, and I can without a doubt say that multiplayer games have definitely touched my heart in a way that, you know, a lot of single player games have failed to do. That does not mean that I have not had some incredible single player experiences, as I have, aka Skyrim, probably the best single player game I've ever played. And, you know, everybody knows about Skyrim, right? And then I got to play it in VR, which was incredible, but that's a story for a different day. Multiplayer games have stuck with me. I have gotten roped into communities and played games for years and years and years, and I'm currently in one of those with VR when it comes to Population 1, where I've been playing now for almost 3 years, and I just can't seem to get enough of it. And it's all due to the community and the friends you make and, you know, the experiences you get to have with other people. And that's really what multiplayer games have allowed. And virtual reality, well, you know, we have some multiplayer games in virtual reality, but no, I'm not talking about the games on the MetaQuest store or Steam VR. Whenever you search multiplayer VR games, you can look for some games and you can see that the games that come up are definitely some multiplayer games that have some good multiplayer aspects to them. And, you know, certainly there's definitely a couple standouts amongst those games for like co-op and different, you know, shooter games, as well as just some other experiences that you can get in multiplayer when it comes to virtual reality. But these aren't the games I'm referring to, because a lot of these games, you know, they have a version of multiplayer that is definitely pretty bare bones, or just, you know, it's the game with the ability to play with a friend. But I'm talking about the full-on community multiplayer grind experience that I think we're going to start getting here in VR. Massive multiplayer online VR role-playing games that are going to be set within the metaverse and fully realized expansive virtual worlds. The first game to really try to attempt to do this was Zenith, and Zenith, although it is popular and, you know, definitely not a bad game, I think that it fell short on a lot of the things, at least for me and what I was going for. I definitely wanted more of a combat aspect in that game, and I felt like the controls were just a bit janky, and the progression system just, I don't know, I felt like it was a lot of point and shoot or just hack and slash, and there wasn't really the depth to it. Now, to be fair, I have not played in a little while now, so the game could certainly be a lot better, but nevertheless, I think there's going to be a lot more titles like this in the coming years. And Really, the big reason for that is because if you take a look at the virtual reality numbers that we currently have, this industry is set to absolutely explode over the next 4 years. As of 2022, there was 171 million VR users, which is quite a lot for a brand new market. The market cap for total VR was around $25 billion, which is, pretty big, but this number is set to 10x by 2028, which will put the market cap over $250 billion. That is a significant increase in 4 years. And that is going to be coming from the consumers, which is going to be us, the people that are going to be buying these VR headsets and VR apps and VR games. Obviously, we know that Meta has taken a serious approach to virtual reality, and the fact that they've been losing money kind of on the MetaQuest platform for a little while now. And I do think that that's going to start changing, because their whole idea was they created a monopoly within the marketplace to bring VR at a lower cost to mass users so that people could see the potential of the technology. Of course, in the end, it's a long-term investment for them, where they're set to run basically the metaverse and the future version of that, which we don't even know what that is like. I'm talking Ready Player One type metaverse, which obviously we know there's dreamers out there that are going to be trying to build platforms such as, and of course we know we have the Meta Horizons, which is their kind of version of a social VR experience. And we've gotten some of these other social VR experiences, such as like VR Chat, Rec Room, that have gone for this. Roblox is now in VR. So the metaverse is certainly starting to take hold, and it's going to remain to be seen, what is the front runner when it comes to, the main VR multiplayer platform, because there really hasn't been one platform yet that is like the end all be all. Like, you have to be on that, like, social networking in VR. Like, these things are coming to virtual reality. All the headsets now are trying to build in some form of facial recognition in the future, so that you could tell facial expressions to be able to talk to people. It's slowly but surely getting more realistic, and it's all in line with the idea that the metaverse is going to be birthed pretty soon, and there's going to be more people in VR than not in VR in the coming years. And I think that that is definitely a prediction that I am willing to stand by, because once you try VR, and especially the MetaQuest 3, I'm so impressed with it standalone, I can really start to see the potential of, where this whole industry is going here pretty shortly. But some of the biggest limitations that were holding multiplayer games back, of course, up until this point, was obviously the user bases. VR has been growing steadily for years now, but we're finally at a point now where there's a lot of VR users on, where you could hop into a multitude of different multiplayer games now, and you're going to generally find people to play with, which before that, you kind of had to time it for weekend nights. And, if you had a game like Onward, which was my first kind of VR multiplayer experience, the community was small. You had to be on a Friday night or a Saturday night, and you'd play with the same people over and over again, because you were all experiencing VR for the first time. Where now a lot of times you do catch some of the same people if you play the same game a lot, but a lot of times these multiplayer games that are successful and popular, they do have a player base to them. And it's pretty exciting to see that being the case. That being said, also, motion sickness was a big limitation, where, a lot of VR users and developers back in the day weren't sure if motion sickness was ever going to go away, because it was so new. We had no idea. Of course, we do know now that it does go away after a few play sessions. And, unless you're really, really prone to motion sickness, you generally get your VR legs and never have to worry about it again. Controls were another big issue, is that, controls were janky in a lot of games, and nobody really knew how to develop VR games. Well, now we've got a lot of experience in there. We've got a lot of game engines that are more poised for VR development. We have developers that have a lot more experience in this field. So all those problems have now kind of been fixed, and we're going into a stage of virtual reality now where things are about to ramp up. When I talk about ramping up, I mean, you look at games like Asgard's Wrath 2, Assassin's Creed Nexus. Like, these are games that came out on standalone this year, and they're incredible. They're absolutely deep. They're full-on video games. They're games that really just are going to blow you away if you play them. They're not perfect. Absolutely. There's definitely still some stuff to be improved upon when it comes to the software, when it comes to smoothness, when it comes to all of that. But when you think about just a couple years ago, how far off we were from those type of experiences, coming to a wireless headset that you didn't have to connect to a PC, and we're there now. And we're there with good visuals and pretty good gameplay. It's pretty exciting So yes, the reason for the explosion in this multiplayer space is going to be there's going to be more experienced developers. There's a lot more funding coming to virtual reality because, like I said, remember that number, 10x growth in the next 4 years. To 2028, we're expected to hit 250 billion market cap worldwide. That is a 10 times growth from where we're at today. So there's going to be a significant amount of money pouring into this field over the coming years, which of course is going to, pour into more games, more hardware, more software, more people ending up getting into this VR metaverse space. So that is going to just propel an explosion of VR multiplayer games. And what does that look like? What kind of VR multiplayer games am I talking about that I'm looking so forward and excited to? I'm talking about the games where a whole community forms and, I hate to use this word because it gets a bad rap amongst gaming, but it can actually not be a bad thing. And I'm talking about live service games. And I know that word, live service, we got a lot of bad taste in our mouth because we have a lot of bad developers doing bad live service things. But I will say, some of the best games I've ever played in my life were live service games. And it's because they continually be updated, they're continuing to bring in revenue, and they continue to grow in the expansiveness and the depth of the game. And currently, Population 1 is similar to that in some degree, and I'll leave my thoughts on that game, aside as I continue to play it, even though I wouldn't necessarily agree with the direction of the game at all times, but of late, it's been a little bit better. But I've played other games. I played a game called World of Tanks. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not, but I've played that for about 8 years of my life, and I was on and off on it, pretty consistently on, a couple months off here and there. But, that was a live service game, and I thought it was another one that I never regretted spending any money in that game. And I think that there's other games like that. Star Wars: The Old Republic was one for me. And everybody has their own mix. I know some people love Warcraft. Some people, play World of Warcraft like it's, they still play it, right? And these are the type of multiplayer experiences that people love. And we just don't have any of those main big ones, big MMORPG VR titles yet, big open world MMO, shooter VR games with, loot systems and all that stuff. These are the type of games that we're going to get coming to virtual reality, as well as, some of our beloved favorites. In the recent years, we've seen an absolute explosion of battle royale games and how they have continued to grow. Obviously, we know Fortnite. If you don't know what Fortnite is at this point, I can't help you. You're not a gamer. Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone. I mean, these have been some of the biggest titles in the last couple years that have huge multiplayer communities, and people just love to continue playing them. And that is kind of my thing because I love competitive online games. It's why I played World of Tanks for so long, because it was such a good competitive online multiplayer game with a lot of RPG aspects to it. And, that feeling of what you're doing is individual to your account. And I think that that's so important in these multiplayer games because you develop kind of a persona around yourself in those games. And in VR, Population 1 in particular, I have a single skin. I don't really change my skin very much. I love the gun skins. I love to collect the gun skins and just the skill level and just the friends you make in the game. The multiplayer VR experience is incredible already with what is currently available out there. But it's only going to get better as we start getting some of these absolutely incredible and insane titles, as well as the rise of VR esports, which we know is coming. And of course, esports, is a big multiplayer community that, there's no single player esports games, not to my knowledge at least. And it really wouldn't make sense playing against AI or anything like that whenever you're supposed to be playing against other people in esports. So we're going to be getting a massive explosion in virtual reality multiplayer games. And I would expect over the next couple years, some of these games to really start, pushing the boundaries of VR forward and sending us deeper into the metaverse. I'm really excited for the upcoming years of virtual reality, guys. I think it's going to be really, really good for not only my channel, but for just all of us in general that are VR enthusiasts and gamers. It's kind of been a dream realized at this point. I got into VR back in 2016. I can't believe that's almost 8 years ago now that I've been in VR, and it's pretty freaking cool that I'm seeing it go in a direction that I could only have dreamt about back then when I first started playing VR headsets. So it's definitely an exciting experience, and I certainly am looking forward to the future. So I want to hear what you guys think. Are you guys excited for the future of virtual reality? Do you think this year and the coming years is going to bring some of the most incredible and expansive VR titles we've ever seen? Obviously, we know that there's mods out there for current game engines that allow us to port games that are already existing existing into VR. I think we'll see more of this. I think that if you're a VR enthusiast and you like VR, you're going to be getting just an unbelievable amount of VR content coming up to revisit games you loved and played already, as well as new VR experiences. So I do want to hear what you guys think. Please do leave that in the comments section below. Also do like and subscribe to this video, to my channel. It really does help the channel. And check out the links in the description if you're looking for any MetaQuest accessories. Check out that link tree. I got controller grips, head straps, charging stations, everything down there, and the sales directly do help the channel. So with that being said, that is it for today's video. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.